The main goal of a young athlete whenever they're playing should be to enjoy themselves. But there are a lot of things that can keep them from enjoying themselves. So what I'm going to do in this video is outline all the main things that can keep your young athlete from enjoying themselves when they're playing. And then I'm going to show you a strategy that I use with the young athletes that I work with to get them to enjoy themselves a little bit more. Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Whenever I'm working with a young athlete, the main goal is to get them to enjoy themselves more. Because I know that if they enjoy themselves more, they're going to play better. But also they're going to play for longer. Because when an athlete doesn't enjoy themselves, and they get to middle school and high school, that's where we start to see burnout take place. So enjoying themselves is very important, but there's also a lot of things that can keep a young athlete from enjoying themselves. Number one is going to be the fear of failure and performance anxiety. The fear of failure means that the young athlete is afraid of making mistakes. But more specifically, they're afraid of what's going to happen if they make a mistake. And then performance anxiety is when they're worried about what's going to happen. For the most part, this is going to be worried about making a mistake. Whenever they have the fear of failure or performance anxiety, this takes away the love for the game and it keeps them from enjoying themselves because for the most part, they're focused on what they don't want to have happen instead of focusing on what they do want to have happen. Something else that can keep your young athlete from enjoying themselves is perfectionism. If they feel like they need to be perfect, they have to play perfectly, then that's going to lower the joy that they have when they play because what happens when they make a mistake? All of a sudden, they feel like they weren't perfect. They feel like they didn't live up to their expectations for that day. And so that can slowly turn something that they used to enjoy into something that just shows them why they're not good enough. And that's not something that's fun for them to deal with at all. And then the third internal factor is going to be self-doubt. If your athlete is doubting themselves, if they don't really believe in their skills, they're not going to have as much fun because their head is filled with negatives. It's filled with all the reasons why they can't play well. They're worried about not playing well, so this is going to lead to more anxiety and fear. And so they're just not going to enjoy themselves because there isn't that trust in their skills. And then the fourth reason that a young athlete might not enjoy themselves, this one's going to be more external. And it has to do with either dealing with a negative coach or maybe a negative team environment. Now, this is a tricky one because the previous three all had to do with the way the young athlete was thinking. And it's very important to realize that because we can change how they're thinking. Sometimes it's pretty difficult to change the environment. Now, if you can change teams, that's going to be great if they're dealing with a negative coach or a negative team environment. But sometimes the only choice you have is to either talk to the coach, and then if nothing changes and you still need to stay on that team, then we have to work with the young athlete to help them manage the negative coach or manage the negative team environment to make sure that it doesn't keep them from enjoying themselves. So knowing that those are the four main reasons why a young athlete's not going to enjoy their sport, what we can do is we can focus on a strategy to help them regain that love for the game and regain that joy that they have to play, which is really, once again, the most important thing for them. So what we're going to do first is handle the negative factors, right? If it's a negative coach, a negative team environment, like I said, you have the choice to move teams. You have the choice to move environments. But sometimes in all reality, you don't have that choice because maybe where you live, this is the only opportunity for them to play. So then we have to handle that negative team or handle that negative coach. And this happens by teaching them how to look at things differently, teaching them how to focus more on themselves, try to take feedback from coach in a more positive way, looking for things they can use to improve, all that kind of stuff. But then if it's fear of failure, performance anxiety, perfectionism, or self-doubt, if it's anything internal, we really want to focus on getting them to overcome that way of thinking, change that way of thinking, because we know, if they build more confidence, they're not going to doubt themselves as much. And also if they build more confidence, they're not going to be so worried about making mistakes. So right there, we know if they focus on building confidence, that's going to help handle some of these factors that's keeping them from enjoying themselves. Once they start really handling those negative factors and they get to work on them, what you want to do now is talk to them about focusing on what they can enjoy. This is a really interesting one because if I'm working with a young athlete or even if I'm working with an older athlete and we're dealing with the loss of passion or the loss of joy in their sport, for the most part, they've stopped focusing on the reasons why they enjoy playing. So what we can do is we can work on getting them to spend more time focusing on, why do you enjoy practicing? Why do you enjoy playing? Why do you enjoy training? What do you really love about your sport? And the more they look for those reasons, the more they're going to find them. And then if they're focusing on the fact that, they just enjoy being with their teammates during the game, they're probably going to enjoy spending time with their teammates more, which means they're going to enjoy the game more. Instead of, on the flip side, they may have started to worry more about playing well. Playing well, I have to play well, I have to play perfectly, I can't make any mistakes. That takes away their focus from their teammates and just enjoying their time with their teammates, which is really what they may enjoy doing. So getting them to focus more on what they enjoy about their sport is going to help them enjoy themselves more because they're going to find whatever they're looking for. And then the third tip you can use is getting them to focus more on what they did well. This is especially helpful if your young athlete is dealing with some perfectionism and they have really high expectations to where they feel like they need to play perfectly. If they feel like they need to play perfectly, the pattern of thinking that's probably going to form is them focusing on the mistakes that they made. You want to focus on the mistakes in order to improve, but you don't want to get into the habit of focusing on the mistakes to beat yourself up, meaning those mistakes signify that you're not good enough that day. So what you can do instead is get your young athlete to focus more on what they did well. You can do this by simply asking them the question, what did you do well today? What were some positives about your practice? What were some positives about your performance? Sometimes it might be difficult for them to think of a few, but by getting them to focus on what they did well first, and then start looking at their mistakes in more of a productive way, in a way that you're actually going to try to learn something from them, that can teach them to build their confidence, and it can also teach them to look for positives, and the more positives they find in their game, the more they're going to enjoy themselves because they're not going to feel like they're not good enough so much. So those are 3 tips that you can use to get your young athlete to enjoy themselves more. Now, in addition to that, I have 2 resources here at Success Starts Within to help your young athlete not only enjoy themselves more, but just build a stronger mental game in general. One of them is going to be the Young Athlete's Mental Toughness course. This course has 6 modules that cover the 6 key fundamentals of a strong mental game for your young athlete. The other option is one-on-one coaching. With one-on-one coaching, it's a 12-week program where I have 50-minute sessions each week with your young athlete, and these are going to be performed virtually. We start off with an assessment, and then we really get to work on their custom mental game plan. Links to learn more about both of those resources are in the description below, so go ahead and check those out if you'd like. If you have any questions about getting your young athlete to enjoy themselves more or any other sports psychology topic, please leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each day on sports psychology and mental training. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.